Welcome back, everyone, and dear rabbit hole dwellers. It's been a few weeks again, and we thought, you know what? Bitcoin world is going crazy. We're going to do another solo episode here.
It's mad out there at the moment, isn't it? It's interesting to just see what's going on. And is it because of the time of the cycle we're in? Is this like normal behavior, Joel, in your experience?
Kinda. I mean, what I find funny is how often do you hear in the Bitcoin space, like, oh, I have a libertarian mindset, which okay, fair enough, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I get fucking fed up again because a grifter is launching a shitcoin. I go like, wasn't that inevitable? And like, even if it happens, you're a libertarian, open free markets. Like, people can do whatever the fuck they want. So I'm like, Jesus, a lot of you have way too much time to spend on X rather than actually getting work done and helping with Bitcoin adoption, just FYI. And getting upset about nothing we kind of have no control about that we shouldn't care anyway.
Exactly. Like, didn't we say like only a couple of weeks ago, Bitcoin would disappoint you and all that sort of shit? It doesn't fucking live up to your fucking expectations. It just does what it does, and it's just gonna evolve how it evolves, right? And you can't fucking. I mean, yes, you can shout and scream about what's going on, but come on, mate. Just how much energy are you going to focus on just what the here and now is in the Bitcoin's timeline, and actually, try to put some effort and energy at maybe being a bit more productive about it rather than just shit posting all the time and all that sort of stuff. But I think a lot of people have become engagement farmers out there. Because they were right. That is part of the cycle, and a lot of people feeling that sort of euphoria and stuff like that. And it just reminds me that we're just fucking fallible, flawed human beings.
I mean, I see.
What I mean?
So
and
yeah,
thank
totally.
Thank fuck we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and thank God for Bitcoin and the fact that it doesn't need. If you put an ego behind it, you're fucked.
Can you imagine if that guy is still alive and like for whatever reason he has an X account and he goes like, oh yeah, let me check the greatest innovation ever invented in human history in modern times and look what's happening, and then he goes online and goes like, what the fuck are you guys all bitching about XRP now being in a crypto reserve and like a Bitcoin reserve happening?
God.
Like, this is not what I envisioned. That's sort of my take. And again, like for anyone out there calling me a hypocrite, I know the Bitcoin reserve stockpile like this, it is a positive thing for Bitcoin perception. Fully aware of that. We may see it in the Czech Republic now. It's also up for vote before everyone goes like, oh, it already passed.
Yeah.
But like, who cares at this point? Really, who cares?
Yeah, I don't know, it's weird. And I think we're this cycle, but slay your heroes, mate, this cycle, fucking hell. All these turncoats who are apparently fucking Bitcoin maxis with laser eyes. Like, hold on, have you lost sight of your fucking laser vision here? And how can you still call yourself a maxi and you're fucking stuck? There's a lot of people actually are, I don't know, becoming grifters at the moment. And,
yeah. One part in me goes like, okay, I understand the temptation to grift because, life is hard for a lot of people. Like, bills increase, gas gets now more expensive over here in Europe as well because like weird politicians have weird utopias. And so there is the temptation to like, okay, let me grift once. It's like, put it in, commit the sin, that kind of saying.
Slip it in, commit the sin. Yeah,
I try to be politically
it's only
correct.
The first stroke that hurts.
Back to our previous conversation before it a different rabbit hole. No, but like, I get that temptation. I go like, okay, but then again, like, does that really matter in the long run of like 30 years? Or if you're my age, in like next 50 years, it probably doesn't. And I always had the attitude of like, it's easier to make more money just by doing more work, maybe picking up a freelancing gig besides your job, maybe doing another shift at work, whatever it is. I think that has more merit and it's also more rewarding. And I need to say also, I'm kind of a workaholic, so I don't have an issue with that, rather than going for the grift. So that's the part in me that goes, I understand the temptation, but I don't get why you go into temptation and you give in and you then actually grift. Because at the end of the day, all that work you've previously done, maybe establishing a personal brand in Bitcoin, convincing people, it kind of goes out, it gets thrown out of the window the moment you do actually grift.
Yeah, you sold out your values and you sold out the message that you've been banging the drum on about, and
Yeah.
then you're doing something that you're participating actively in a fiat way that is going to, rug pull people and make the situation worse. And you can't then go back to your original preaching to the choir and say, Bitcoin only again, because you've just proved yourself fallible. And look, I know we all are. I know we're all susceptible to all that sort of
Hmm.
stuff and things like that. But it's just a matter of where's your values, where's your moral compass, why is it that you've chosen to go this path in the first
Hmm.
place? And are you going to take responsibility for it? And what are you going to do to try and walk back from it if you can, And I guess that, we're at a time in Bitcoin's lifespan where we're getting closer and closer to 20 million Bitcoin, the one Bitcoin left to be mined, and that's going to take a long time, 2140. And there's going to be probably a part of each of our journey in Bitcoin where we're going to have to decide whether or not we're going to put into question our values, right, to some degree. So maybe I'm just thinking, sort of like, am I yet to fucking be tested? But then again, we've all been tested so far, right? And we've held our message even now, even though people are folding now. So I don't know, you know, it's weird.
Yeah, and I mean, from personal experience, like I'm fully aware. I did work for like crypto companies as a freelancer years ago because, it was easy money to make to then
Mm.
get more Bitcoin. I know in like the purest maxi form, that's not the way to do. But guess what I did? If I got paid in like a useless token, I immediately sold that or even asked a lot of the projects like, hey, can you rather than paying me in that useless shit, just pay me in a stable coin or preferably in Bitcoin? So everyone has their choice to make. And to me, it's like, if you grift, if you go into the crypto valley stuff, um, okay, fine, you made that decision, but then you're much more of a crypto generalist, so you're more open to the ideas of like, oh, next to Bitcoin there is other stuff as well, and
Yeah.
it's intriguing. And apparently a lot of like OGs and whales have really gone into this because they got bored at one point having enough Bitcoin, like they don't need to work anymore for it, so you do experiment around a bit. And I go like, if that's the case, then it's fine, but then also like own that statement and don't be such a hissy fit and like getting upset about stuff.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, what do you think is going on with like the whole America, Trump reserve, and the Bitcoiners who are American and influencers within the ecosystem? What's your take on
I mean,
all that?
imagine you've been lobbying hard for Bitcoin and you then see this happening. So I would think at first you'll be quite upset because like, hey, I put a lot of like time and effort into this.
Mm.
But then again, like the number one thing altcoins can outcompete Bitcoin is in marketing and essentially spending money because they can print it out of thin air. Best example being XRP.
Yeah.
So it was,
Wasn't it like
to me,
eighty
it was
percent
inevitable.
of the, or is it? Aren't all the XRP supply already been pre-mined or something like that, and 80% of it is already been allocated
It's
or
something on these lines.
pre-mined?
So before being launched publicly, which FYI happens with every altcoin, by the way, you can look into
Yeah,
Ethereum, Solana, anything.
yeah,
They got hold of that, and then they decided to like publicly sell and basically dump on retail, which is probably the reason measured in fiat why XRP has never managed to get back to its all-time high of I don't know $6, $7, $8. And again, I go like, okay, it's fine. Like everyone is a grown up, they made that decision to get into that. Everyone probably started there at one point. But to me, it was just like the crypto lobby spent so much money during the elections. I think they were the second largest or largest industry to actually lobby for whatever they want to have in their
yeah.
outcomes. So it was kind of inevitable to me that that would potentially then be a point we run into in the future with such a reserve. Um, Again, would it make sense to use XRP as a reserve currency? Probably not. The only guys profiting from it would be Ripple Labs.
Hmm.
Um, but hey, if that's where it heads into, again, they are going to probably fulfill that vision because they've got more marketing budget to spend. And as someone working in marketing, sorry, that's the best thing that can happen to you because you can always outcompete others.
Yeah, it's always like let the fiat games begin, or like in
Mm-hmm.
crypto, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
all these shit coins and stuff. Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of people making a lot of fiat money, right, on the back of these pump and dumps. I mean, just look at the whole fucking Trump meme coin and stuff like that, and it's opportunities for their people to sort of really sort of take advantage of the opportunity of people not knowing what Bitcoin is and why it's there and why these other cryptos exist, and them being proof of stake or just sort of like pre-mined for marketing and money making purposes, and then you can get fooled and grifted into parting with your money you've worked hard for because you see other
Yeah.
people getting rich for it, and it just creates this fucking shit show of a free market, you can call it, right? But I suppose maybe it's an educational journey for people, because they'll soon realize that all their attempts at gambling away their money doesn't seem to work, or they're always left feeling fucking have fun staying poor type things. But maybe it's a pathway that people sort of realize what Bitcoin is and why it's different. Maybe not, I don't know. But
I mean,
you
if
know
I look at all of these announcements, let's actually do this live. So let me just pull up like one of these weird pricing things. And now if I do weird movements in front of the camera, that's because I have the uh, iPhone in front of me as my camera. So if you look at this in terms of that announcement, let's take XRP now.
yeah,
In terms of like the fiat price, sure, they're up on like a 30-day basis and window and like a yearly thing, but
yeah,
like that's basically because they came from the shitter. If you go for a 7-day thing, they're in the red. So it did not have, at least in my opinion, if fiat gains are the main objective, it did not have that much of an impact. And all of that previous performance measured a year from now backwards is probably also because Bitcoin pumped. We always know if Bitcoin pumps, all of these cryptos also pump. So if that is the goal, I kind of have to go, is it working out? And I mean, again, like, are they really performing to the best of their abilities? I wouldn't say so. Um, where is that fucking graph? There it is. Um, yeah, it's just a weird thing to be looking at where you go, it doesn't really make any sense. Um, but I don't know. It's just if people want to do this junk, like let them do it. I'm interested. Like, how do you look at these things? Because out of us two, you are more of the sophisticated thinker. I just basically say whatever comes into my mind, and you think a lot about
mate.
these
So do
things.
I.
Yeah, but like you phrase it in an elegant British
Oh,
accent and
mate,
like in a
whatever,
good question.
whatever. What do I take of it all? Look, I don't know. It's interesting to get involved in, right? I do spend time watching like the speeches and listening to like
Hmm.
Trump and watching and engaging with things on social media about it all. But I sometimes like I see people have really sort of fell down this pit where they can't come out of, and it seems like they are now they've kind of forgotten about the wider ecosystem in a way, and that Bitcoin is global. Bitcoin banks the unbanked. There are projects and charities that are going on to build up infrastructures and make parts of the world that don't have access to the same things that we do over in the West. Those things have sort of become quiet now because the focus is now on this sort of big, shiny glitter ball of the USA and the orange, fat headed Trump, who sort of like has an entertainment sort of way about him and controversy. So people have just sort of like been distracted by it. And I just want maybe people to sort of like calm down a little bit now because it's done. He's the president. There's these things going on. And yes, you can go further and further into different rabbit holes around what's going on in America and how that links back to Bitcoin. But that's not what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is for everyone, right? So that's where I'm at the moment. And maybe it's just, it's going to run out of steam. People are going to eventually lose interest. And maybe, if we keep banging the drum over here in Europe about, what Bitcoin is and stuff like that, that maybe, we need to sort of step up a little bit and be a bit more vocal just to sort of bring people's adrenaline down a little bit about what's going on. So, yeah.
So do you think like the reactions now? like keeping on the topic of like the national reserves and like Europe making a statement, the statement out of the Czech Republic, if that is to pass, like the I think it's the head of the central bank wants to buy billions in
Yeah.
euros and convert that to Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is like a statement in regards to what's happening in the US, or is that just pure coincidence? I go more on the it has an influence what's happening in the US, but because the Czech Republic, we've both been to BTC Prague, it
Yeah.
really is a Bitcoin hub. I think it's just a
Exactly.
mixture of all of these things happening currently.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. And meanwhile, the UK is just lost in a fucking dark forest of despair and like in this lost past of nonsense, and it's hard to sort of witness what's going on, you know. And even despite all the glitter and glamour and all the loud noise about Bitcoin and crypto reserve and all that sort of stuff, and Bitcoin's quite top at the sort of agenda of discussion at the moment from a lot of people because of the price point it's at, because of the whole Trump administration. So it's getting a lot of attention, and it just seems like fucking the UK are just an ostrich with its head in the sand, farting into the wind, not knowing what's going on, you know, just talking nonsense and clamping down more of our fucking rights and freedoms and our speech, and redefining extremism to include more people and more activities for them to sort of shut down and surveil and fucking control. So we're turning into, like, we were the creators of the fucking Western ideas, right? You know, almost like America is like our fucking baby that's come fucking
Whoa, whoa,
spoiled
whoa,
and
whoa,
out of
whoa.
fucking
Let's not start a
spoiled.
discussion
And
about that
mate,
stuff.
it's like an out of control fucking child now, and like we're just an out of fucking touch granddad, you know, that doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and pissing its pants and fucking making stupid choices and saying things you can't say anymore.
I can just see a redneck in our comments now go like, that's why we dumped your fucking tea in the harbor in Boston.
Mate, that's bullshit as well. The whole fucking Tea Party's bullshit, brother. Mate, it's all about monetary policy. It's about the fucking central banks. So behave yourselves.
But back to the topic of like the Czech Republic. I think that's an interesting thing, because if it were to happen, again, it would be good to see a statement that Bitcoin is being used for, at this point, really a political statement. And
Yeah.
if it really happens, I couldn't be happier that it happens in a country which is probably not on the map of a lot of people, but yet you can already then see that the Czech grassroots Bitcoin movement has done so much. I mean, we have BIP39 because of the
Yes.
Satoshi Labs people. We have Trezor. We have like all of these things. We have Vextel.
Yeah.
Shout out to Grafton. Please
Yes.
stop using the memes against non-KYC. I know who you're attacking, and it's not in my department that we did it. Different topic.
Do your thing, Grafton. Do your thing.
But it's so cool to see that a country that's been oppressed by fucking communists and has managed to break free and has really managed to turn tides around could now be the signal for Bitcoin as a reserve, and then further also orange pill citizens in the Czech Republic who are not Bitcoiners. Like they don't have that on their radar, and suddenly it creeps in. I think this could be a net positive signal to show how it should be done. And I hope it sort of starts a domino effect for other European countries to go, well, basically, if Trump is already ignoring the EU, which I find a positive thing, he's speaking to the countries directly, we can also be in charge of our own sovereignty as a country and get back into these things. So I look at this as a huge positive signal. Now we just need to wait if he actually manages to pull through and to really get Bitcoin on that balance sheet. And please, proper Bitcoin, not like wrapped Bitcoin, dear Czech Republic
Dear,
and
don't
National
do that,
Bank.
please. I remember when Saylor posted the US government just bought X amount of Bitcoin, and then he got community noted straight away because it was wrapped Bitcoin. That was hilarious, mate. It's great seeing Bitcoiners like, you know, Saylor getting community noted. That was hilarious, man. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it goes into what you're saying, like slay your heroes. And speaking of slaying, like you've also been doing some slaying, not like slaying, but like slaying, in terms of taking down these stupid economists in the UK. And before hitting record, I was like, why are all of the Bitcoin idiots in the UK, Ian? What was the reasoning for you to basically also record these videos? Because I find them hilarious and entertaining to watch.
Mate, it started off right with Gary Stevenson, and I did like a short video when he did a video about crypto, like a year or two ago now, and he's like, crypto, gambling, in it, tax the rich, this and that and the other, and like it did my head in watching it, and it was frustrating. But I did one today, I released today about, I forget his name now, Richard Murphy, and he's an economist professor at some, I don't know, place. And he was talking about, is Bitcoin the next digital gold? And in brackets, it isn't. And they just slated Bitcoin being a Ponzi scheme, and it's empty, it's got no value. And the amount of nonsense this guy was spouting, the more I was watching this 7-minute video, the more wound up I was getting. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do a video pulling it apart and just sort of telling him about himself and how wrong he is. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit sort of brave by calling out these influential voices now in the UK. And that's where we're at. We seem to be sort of like sleepwalking in file into the fucking slaughterhouse and oblivious to it, right? People are asking for more fucking money from the government, more assistance, more help. We need more social housing. We need this and that and the other. And it's just becoming more and more sort of communist.
Yeah, it's
Because we are
literally the meme
realizing,
like govern me
mate,
harder, daddy.
seriously, it's like, you know, you've got me over a barrel now, so you might as well get it over and done with. People are just sort of like struggling. The cost of living is high at the moment, gas and electricity prices, so people are feeling the pain. And like all they can ever think of now is like, I can't pay for this stuff, so the government needs to pay for me. And that just leads us into the fucking pit of despair. And, then you've got to ask yourself, is 2 plus 2 equal 4 anymore? Because you were in 1984 and some Orwellian place. But maybe we need to feel the pain a bit more because, we've been the king of the castle for a long time and we're sort of full of our own self-importance and sipping tea with the queen and all that sort of stuff. So maybe we need to sort of like experience a little bit of reality. I don't know. But it's frustrating as a Bitcoiner knowing what's going on around me. And, it's an interesting time to be alive, Joel, in England for sure.
Yeah, and then you get on the tube in London and you see Ripple ads all everywhere. And you go like for fuck's sake, I can't escape this stuff.
Don't, please. I just want to rip them off. I might do
We
that,
should actually do this. We should buy a shit ton of stickers and during the night once, sticker it closely and stuff.
Just gorilla everything up, yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, man.
Like make a huge cock with like Bitcoin stickers.
Bitcoin doesn't care.
But before we close out, Ian, is there anything more you want to add to the lovely listeners who, if they survived up until this point, hats off?
Yeah. Sorry we suffered you. We're insufferable today, weren't we, Joel? But no, man, it's just, I don't know. Look, listen, stay humble in it. That's don't get carried away and high on the sort of fumes of grifters. Just know yourself. Study Bitcoin, remember Bitcoin, slay your heroes, keep calm, carry on, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, stay curious.